while you're still a baby in life, hitting 30 for a footballer is a pretty big deal, because not only does it mean they've most likely already passed 2/3 of their playing career, but for most, the remaining 1/3 usually doesn't see them sustain the level of performance they consistently showcased in their younger days. However, as with most if not all rules in life, there are exceptions to this, and for this one in particular, one glaring exception. Just wait till you see who's number 1 on this list. But in order to do that, we'll have to go through all these first, of course, as these are 7 players who reached their peak after 30 since 2004, cause obviously. Also no keepers. Also remember, this list is only for those whose prime years began after 30, so I won't have people like Karim Benzema or Robert Lewandowski, cause yes, while their peak season may have taken place after 30, their peak honestly began way before that. Yes, even Big Ben's. It was just you airheads not realizing just how good he was. When will you learn? Well, apparently never, cause honorable mention CR7. Man, the obsession with stats have messed with you lot's head. But to be fair, in this case, I kinda don't blame your memories being a bit fuzzy, cause check this. After Ronaldo turned 30, he spent 3 full seasons at the Bernabeu, and in those 3 seasons, Real three-peated the Champions League. And due to a combination of that and recency bias, people think that noodle hair UCL Knight CR7 was the best CR7. It wasn't. That was simply the best and most successful team Ronaldo has ever played in. And in all honesty, him being the main man for one of the greatest teams of all time when he was already past his peak should have given you an idea of what this man was and still is. But yeah, as for his absolute peak, it was 25 to 29, as in the arrival of Jose up to the clinching of La Decima. Hope I dumbed it down enough. Let's roll on. Number 7, Fabio Quagliarella. And we start with a man who outscored an over 30 CR7 by scoring almost 30 while over 30 and in a league that specializes for those over 30. And this is a warning for all you lovely sweet senior citizens. Please hide from this man. Hide. Hide now. Hide for your lives. Or if you still have your original hips, run for your lives. Which I'm sure Fabio Quagliarella can do pretty comfortably since, number 1, he actually clocked in at a maximum speed of 35.07 kilometers per hour when he was 38 years old. And number 2, even before that, he actually spent years running from a stalker who was harassing his family. Look it up. But yeah, as for what Quaggy actually did, so yeah, basically after spending 4 years at Juventus where he never really managed to solidify a starting place, Fabio Quagliarella returned to his old club Torino when he was 31, finally ready to show the world what he can do. But then got into an argument with the fans and forced out after 2 years. Jesus, trouble seems to follow this guy everywhere. Though fortunately for him, all this eventually resulted him in returning to Sampdoria, another one of his former clubs, from 33 to 40, that proved to be the last and, without a doubt, greatest stretch of his career. Number 6, Kyle Walker. Despite the relatively low ranking, this may be the most impressive entry on this list, because you see, players who usually peak in their 30s are usually either one of the 2 types. Number 1, they're the type who change their game so they don't have to rely on the attributes that are associated with youth like pace and explosiveness. Or number 2, they are guys who've never really had to rely on those attributes in the first place. But bro, Kyle Walker is still comfortably one of the fastest footballers in the world, even now at 34 years of age. I genuinely don't think we've ever seen anything like this before. And another difference with Kyle though is, while he was still this rapid during his Spurs days, his defensive ability and spatial awareness and, yes, ability to cross a ball were all honestly average at best for the Premier League level. But following a few years spent with possibly the greatest coach in football history and also Pep Guardiola, soon enough, the man became pretty much the total package for a fullback. Number 5, Teddy Sheringham. He played on after 04, so it counts. Suck on it. And what do you know? This is already the second player on this list who spent a lot of his 20s at Spurs before peaking in his 30s after he left Spurs, and spoilers, he's not the last one on this list that will follow this particular pattern either. I guess just don't join Spurs in your 20s. Or at all. Yeah, at all. So being a United fan in the summer of 97 must have been weird. Your greatest player of the Premier League era had just randomly decided to call it quits, and, on paper, you couldn't have thought of a worse replacement. You were replacing a hip and suave Frenchman with the most basic Cockney East Essex pub quiz on a rainy Tuesday thing you could find. You were going from a cultured and confident collar-popping creator from a country that emblematizes cock to a bland baller from a club that emblematizes cock. You were going from a 30-year-old who spent the last few years leading your club to countless countless trophies to a 31-year-old who spent the last few years at a club allergic to fucking trophies. You were going from a guy who loves Andy Cole to a guy who hates Andy Cole, from a guy with one eyebrow to a guy with no eyebrows. You get the point, they're polar opposites. Little did you know how well it would work. And I guess it did partly work because Teddy was in his 30s at the time, as he didn't mind rotating regularly with the other United strikers in the squad, making most of his chances when given, and eventually playing a huge part in the club's success in the next 4 years, particularly 99, particularly the Champions League final in 99. He then left, went back to Spurs, and eventually making his way to clubs like West Ham, playing until he was past 40. And now all these years later, he's happily retired. Or at least I think he's happy. Sorry. Kinda hard to tell without any eyebrows. Someone draw someone, please. Number 4, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So in my video about players who peaked before 23, one of the guys I spoke about was Michael Owen. And well, here's a strange fact. Ibrahimovic and Michael Owen are actually closer in age than Messi and Ronaldo are. And yet, by the time Zlats reached his peak, Owen was already retired, or warming the bench at Stoke, depending on your take. But either way, I'd say it's pretty clear that Ibra really played his best stuff when he joined PSG, because although he was the one to look out for as early as his Ajax days, caused waves at Inter Milan that led him to move to Barcelona, actually wasn't bad at Barca when he got there either. It was when he moved to Paris, a couple of months before turning 31, where he consistently began performing at the highest level. And in case anyone wants to take credit away from him because he did it in the French league, well, just saying, moving to Ligue 1 in your 30s isn't always easy. Cough cough. Besides, Zlatan's dominance certainly wasn't limited to the French league, bro, because after a record-breaking 4 years in France, he moved to the Premier League and very much held his own at 35, went dossing about in the US for a couple of years, and then came back and helped Milan win another Scudetto. Is there anything he can't do? Apart from win the Champions League, that is. Number 3, Paul Scholes. Well, basically, I explained this in one of my earliest videos. Go watch it, and sorry in advance for the sound quality, so I'll keep it short here. Paul Scholes began his career as a forward player, usually playing off the main striker, but partly due to the 4-4-2 systems United used to play back then, Scholesy moved down the pitch and became a very typical box-to-box Premier League midfielder of the 90s, creating an amazing partnership with Roy Keane. But then, when Keano left United at the end of 05, Scholesy, then 31, began transitioning into more of a holding role, something which turns out he was basically born to do. And from there, he became a part of another legendary Manchester United side. But this time, believe it or not, even more of an integral part of the setup. Because you see, had Scholesy not been in the United team of 99, they would have missed him, but they would have eventually made it through, which they did do in the final if you recall. But had he been absent from the 08 and certainly post 09 sides, they'd have been so lost big time. No cap. Just look at what happened this season when he wasn't there. Legend. Number 2, Pepe. Now listen, with the guys I've listed so far, they may have peaked after 30, but I think you could confidently say that they were still top class even prior to that. With Pepe though, that's seriously debatable in my opinion. But starting from, I'd say, the 15-16 season, the first of the three-peat, Pepe finally matured into a straight-thinking centre-back, put some crucial performances during the UCL run, including both semi-final ties against Man City where Real kept 2 clean sheets, and then won the Euros with Portugal, putting up a man-of-the-match performance in the final. And the fact that even from there, he played at the highest level right up until his retirement at 41 years of age, putting up further brilliant displays for Porto in the UCL and Portugal at the Euros even in his final year. For me, that has solidified Pepe as one of the best and, if I'm honest, most underrated defenders of his generation. Or rather, the generation below him, considering during his generation he was more interested in fucking karate. Number 1, Luka Modric. He never finished above 4th before 27, was named the worst signing of the year at 27, won nothing outside Croatia before 28, and had never won a league title before 31. And now he's seen as one of the greatest midfielders in the history of the game. Just let that sink in. And that is that. Agree or disagree beats indifference. So what do you think of this list? Are there any top class players who peaked after 30 since 2004 that's not a keeper who I missed out? Let me know in the comments below. And as usual, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Till next time, you keep rolling.